What if I told you that all of your preconceived notions about Chrissy and Jim Jones are wholly untrue? You did indeed hear me correctly. Everything they've achieved was completely demolished in a single action by Camron, the same Camron that we all know. You won't believe what he just revealed. He broke into the courtroom and destroyed their little paradise. In front of the world, the man who lost everything. The walls collapsed around him, leaving him vulnerable, and after this, you won't recognize her. Camron just came out with a shocking revelation. What occurs when the people you trust publicly turn on you, bringing all you've worked so hard to achieve to a complete collapse? Is the year's biggest celebrity controversy, not just another one. Do you still believe that Chrissy was the driving force behind this whole situation? Do you believe Jim Jones was unaware of how much worse the truth is than you believe? We're just getting started, so stay tuned. The initial impression was that everyone was waiting for the next puzzle piece to fit together. Would the evidence against Melly be too compelling, or would he escape punishment? The video evidence that surfaced was just what everyone had hoped for. It showed two people in a car who could have been Melly and his suspected co-conspirator Bortland, but it was too vague and ambiguous to provide a definitive identification. The public was growing more interested in the trial than merely observing it, and it was becoming increasingly complex. However, the prosecution was also not giving up. They confiscated the video, citing the fact that, despite its potential ambiguity, it nevertheless placed Melly at the scene at a crucial juncture, which the prosecution found even more troubling. Taking advantage of this ambiguity, the defense team claimed that the video was too blurry to be used as evidence in court and that it was just another attempt to deceive the jury and raise doubts, a tactic intended to sway public opinion rather than offer concrete proof of. As if it couldn't get much worse, Bortland, Melly's longtime friend and fellow defendant, finally stepped in. After weeks of speculation, it suddenly seemed as though a potential plea agreement would be reached in court. As other former associates came forward to claim that Melly had made covert threats before the murders, Melly's past was revealed as part of his defense. Some even said that Melly had threatened to take matters into hands if he didn't stop expressing his dissatisfaction and outrage at being misled. Tension was high, the courtroom was on fire, and Bortland's defense team stated that he was in talks with the prosecution to receive a lighter sentence in exchange for testifying against Melly, since Bortland had been Melly's last line of defense. For his tale, the prosecution had an insider with first-hand knowledge of the events leading up to the killings, which made speculation and dread run rampant. Was a devastating blow to Melly's case. After a friend threatened to betray Melly in exchange for a lower sentence, the Free Melly movement appeared to be waning as more and more people began to doubt Melly's innocence. It didn't stop there though. One of Melly's former associates came forward and said they had first-hand knowledge of Melly's role in the killings. According to the whistleblower, who was given anonymity for their safety, Melly threw away evidence during the aftermath of the murders, and they had private discussions at that time. The specifics of the murders were revealed to them in heated conversations with Melly, who seemed to corroborate the darkest suspicions of those who thought Melly was guilty. As was to be expected, the defense attempted to discredit the whistleblower by claiming that they were all former partners seeking attention and money, but the evidence against Melly was beginning to mount, and the walls were closing in on him. With every new piece of information, devastatingly, the recording appeared to indicate that Melly and his attorney were worried about the case's conclusion. The jury's conviction would have been permanently altered if Melly had been genuinely seeking a plea bargain, which would have shown that he was prepared to acknowledge culpability. Using the video as proof that Melly was aware of his culpability and was attempting to reach a compromise, escape the repercussions of his conduct, the prosecution swiftly took advantage of it. The defense, of course, the public was now split on every facet of Melly's case. Some remained in his corner, believing that he was the victim of a vast conspiracy and that the system was biased against him. Meanwhile, others began to wonder if Melly was truly capable of the crimes for which he was charged and if the evidence against him was reliable. Everyone had different ideas as the trial was coming to a close, Would Melly be released or go to prison for the rest of her life? When Melly testified in defense during the closing phases of the trial, it was the most shocking event of the case. He maintained his innocence and denied any role in the killings in his tearful statement. He discussed how he had always attempted to act morally, his upbringing, and his challenges. The court drama, they believed, had become a worldwide show, and everyone appeared to be waiting for the verdict on Melly's guilt or innocence to influence some guests. But was it sufficient? The world would soon see whether Melly's passionate plea to the jury was sufficient to persuade them of his innocence. The jury debated as the trial drew to a close, and everyone held their breath, wondering if Melly would be found guilty or released again in spite of the overwhelming evidence against him. Whatever the decision, one thing was for sure: this case had altered the course of history. There was more to the Yinwi Melly narrative than a Jim Jones and Chrissy Elman's tragedy. It was a full-blown public breakdown rather than a case of intimate betrayal. Let's explore the mess that is trending outside of social media. When Camron entered the stand, he revealed an enterprise based on deceptive pretenses, not only financial exploitation or dominating relationships. A system, a celebrity, and the worlds of fame and riches intersecting in unexpected ways were all related to the murder trial. Court records that Camron purportedly had in his hands claim that because Camron did not drop all of his bombs in the courtroom, Jim and Chrissy's ship is slowly sinking. The fact that investigative reporters now possess these data is startling because, first of all, Jim wasn't the only one who made choices about his finances and career. Chrissy, the lady who has benefited Chrissy, had her hands all over the money. The actual fortune they were accumulating, since Jim's ride-or-die fame was secretly pulling all the strings behind the Sinjin in the background. She is alleged to have been the brains behind all of their economic activities, and we're not simply discussing endorsement deals here. We're talking about shell corporations, offshore accounts, and a network of concealed assets that were only accessible by her. Jim may have been the one electrifying the crowd with his rapping at his performances, but it was she who influenced the story of their relationship and made the important financial choices. A select few were aware of this, and although Jim was preoccupied with his work and believed Chrissy had his back, Camron wasn't finished yet. In fact, he went farther when he began discussing the negative aspects of their romantic relationship. When making decisions, Chrissy was involved in controlling Jim's public image in addition to overseeing his finances, according to unidentified persons with knowledge of the matter. Camron was determined to hold them accountable, revealing everything in the courtroom, including Jim and Chrissy's purported involvement in some questionable financial dealings. Preserve the image of the ideal relationship they had created over the years, Chrissy prepared everything, and he made every commitment he signed. It wasn't even an error, I assure you, so let's now discuss the money laundering part of this case. Rather, their wealth was kept hidden and out of the public view through a well-thought-out method. These same unnamed sources claim that the couple's sinister secrets went further. Ever since they first met, Chrissy had been using Jim as a pawn in her complex scheme to gain power and fortune. Was not merely a failed romance. It was a planned plot to seize Jim's life. Was due to allegations that monies intended for their firm were being illegally transferred into shell companies and disguised accounts and even utilized for personal needs unrelated to their jobs. What's remarkable is that the problem involves not only marital conflict or money trickery but also public perception. When Camron came clean about what was truly going on, the public went crazy on social media, with followers attacking Jim and Chrissy in a way that was almost poetic. Jim Jones is a rapper, businessman, and well-known person in the hip-hop industry, so that he's not only famous. Then the bit that really hit home: Jim Jones's empire began to collapse, and he was no longer in control when the courtroom allegations were made public. Even his closest allies, who had previously stood by him, had lost faith in him. Everyone, from hip-hop lovers to onlookers, could feel the shockwaves that swept the internet. We saw on television. There was no denying the harm, and the treachery was genuine. Where Jim will go from here is the question that everyone has though. In actuality, The harm that these revelations may cause may be irreversible. While Jim is a fighter and a survivor, it goes beyond a run-in with Camron or some fictional drama for television. Rather, it involves his entire public persona being destroyed by someone he most trusted, and worse, he no longer controls the story. If you believe Jim's circumstances are dire, just wait until you see how Chrissy is managing everything. She isn't exactly winning popularity contests after everything that has been made public, and admirers and even some of her friends are beginning to see her for who she really is. We are just beginning, but the backlash will only worsen. Believe me, the more people who see it, the longer it will last. The public backlash is only beginning. After discussing the upheaval, the scandal, and the mess, let's go on to the aftermath, as that is where things become even more heated. These financial secrets, the courtroom drama, and the lies are only the beginning. The true ramifications are only now beginning to show. A mistake, a leak, a startling disclosure, and then all of a sudden, this is what happened to Jim Jones's public image. His career is both personal and professional, which is the worst aspect. His tours have been trimmed back, his brand is faltering, his music is hardly making an impression on the charts, and ticket sales are well below their former levels. The man became the subject of rumors and jeers after once being a well-respected member of the hip-hop culture. When your entire career has been based on respect, loyalty, and street cred, it feels like a knife to the back when your closest allies turn against you. To your reputation, and trust me, it will be difficult. You won't be the next person exposed for doing business with a fake if you associate with a man who is now publicly perceived as weak, controlled, and probably involved in shady transactions. Jim won't bounce back from this kind of incident easily. Chrissy Lakin, however, isn't experiencing any improvement. Drama would be overlooked. But think again, she has been pulled through the muck alongside Jim, and worse, she might have started it all. But those romantic feelings were just that, feelings now that she is being exposed as the true mastermind behind the lies and manipulation. Jim was apparently being used as a puppet in a bigger manipulation game, and Chrissy was controlling the show and tugging strings. Even though the public has been duped for years, she is now the one who must cope with the consequences. Don't trust me when I say that it's going to fall apart faster than a house of cards. Let's talk about the fallout. According to sources, I'm referring to some real intimate knowledge here. The way Chrissy handled Jim's money and career has led to fans demanding answers and holding her accountable. Let's not even talk about the internet haters who are having a field day. People are reminded by every tweet, meme, and comment that she is no longer viewed as the devoted girlfriend who stands by her guy. A recurrent narrative portrays her as a con artist who exploited her relationship for personal benefit. Let's now discuss the legal ramifications because, gosh, this is getting serious. In addition to revealing private information, the courtroom drama also revealed some grave legal concerns. Money laundering, business deal manipulation, and even financial fraud are all on the table, and you can bet your bottom dollar that when the law starts to poke around, things will get messy. Unnamed sources indicate that the couple's financial dealings include this is no small issue, folks. Investigators are now investigating offshore accounts, hidden assets, and potential money laundering activities. There are investigations underway. These are not merely claims. If the allegations are accurate, we may be charged with major offenses like criminal conspiracy and tax evasion. However, Chrissy is not off the hook either, as people familiar with the matter claim that she is already preparing to cut ties with Jim. It is usually the individual who has been pulling the strings that leaves first when the chips fall and is down. Chrissy has allegedly used Jim's employment as a springboard to start her own company. But what if it doesn't work out? She probably does, and that's where the fallout goes from there. According to sources, things are already becoming sour behind the scenes, but this is only a personal separation. It's a public and professional split that will have a lasting impact on the couple's financial matters, commercial endeavors, and how is the future of Jim and Chrissy affected by this? We are aware that it will be a long and difficult journey. and that no one will soon forget the mess they have created, because the public is keeping a careful eye on them and the truth always manages to surface in this case. It is already visible to the globe. Well, let's finish up. Despite Chrissy's and my belief that they could trick everyone, they ultimately only that concludes the dramatic story for today. But believe me, the drama, the lies, and the betrayal are only beginning. We are all witnessing as an empire that was founded on lying and manipulation implodes in this story. After everything is said and done, will Jim be able to get back up? Will Chrissy get away with everything she did, or will she be held responsible? Although only time will tell, you want to be the first to hear what happens next since this scandal is far from done. If you're feeling disturbed by everything we've shown today, please remember to like this video if you want more juicy expose. Videos like that hit where we always go above and beyond. You have the opportunity to participate in the discussion about what you believe will occur next. Will Jim Jones bounce back from this significant scandal? Is Chrissy's reputation gone, or can she save it? Kindly leave a comment below with your comments. Let's see who is willing to break up with them and who is still on their side, as I know you have strong feelings about this. To ensure you don't miss what we have in store for you next, please click the subscribe button and enable the alerts. We want to give you real news that you won't find anywhere else.